Hello and welcome to Parenting Roadmaps. This is week number 1 of the fall series for 2021. I am thrilled you found this parent education resource. Maybe you're watching this video in September of 2021, or perhaps it's sometime later. No matter when you are watching, Parenting Roadmaps videos are here to support you as a parent, to help guide you and provide navigation as you travel with your child on their developmental journey. Some weeks we will discuss very specific elements of child development, but today we are going broad by taking a look at the whole thing, child development, understanding the special relationship between the parts that make up child development and child development as a whole. Throughout this video series, my promise to you is to keep these videos short and to the point, so let's jump right in. Do you ever bake? I'm not talking about anything complicated, things like cookies. Stay with me on this one, but today I'd like to use baking cookies to help describe child development, its parts, and as a whole. Let's look at a sugar cookie and some of its ingredients like flour, eggs, sugar, and salt. None of these ingredients on their own would be considered a whole cookie, right? These ingredients each have a specific job in the making of the cookie. We can look at each ingredient individually and talk about what this ingredient does to make a cookie, but the reality is that when these ingredients are used to make a cookie, when they look at them as a whole, these ingredients are always found together. All of these parts come together to make the whole. You can't look at this cookie and say, oh yep, there's the flour, and oh yeah, on this side we find the salt. It just doesn't work that way. They all combine to make the cookie, and the same is true with child development. As you watch the videos from the Parenting Roadmaps series, we will, most of the time, be focusing our learning on a part of child development, using today's comparison on an ingredient of child development. This might be something like fine motor skills, stability, or next week's topic, bilateral coordination. Even though we may talk about each area or skill individually, we know that these ingredients, these developmental skills or activities, are rarely going to happen in isolation or by themselves. Let me give you an example to try to illustrate this point. Take your fine motor skills, your child's small muscle movements. We know that a child's fine motor abilities, how they're able to use those small muscle movements in their hands, fingers, and wrists, your fine muscle movements rely on the strength and control of other muscles like your core and your large muscles, your gross motor skills. And guess what? Your child's social and emotional ability can also play a part in your child's fine motor skills. Developing fine motor skills is hard work, and it takes lots of practice. Working on fine motor skills is often frustrating work. A child who can manage their feelings of frustration and stay focused on their fine motor task is likely to get more practice in developing those fine motor skills. So let's bring this back again to the cookie. Just like the cookie, child development has ingredients. In this last example, I mentioned fine motor skills, gross motor skills, and dealing with frustration, which can fall under the category of self-regulation. We can talk about each of these aspects of child development separately, and it's helpful. In fact, that's the reason for parenting roadmaps. However, there is this special relationship between the parts and the whole. We can talk about these ingredients, these skills, separately, but the reality is when you're looking at your little cookie, your child, these ingredients are always interacting and relying on each other. Just like you can't look at a cookie and see just the salt, you can't look at how your child is moving their fingers and see that as only fine motor skills, which leads me to one of today's 2 big takeaways. First, because of everything that can go into child development, if there's an area of concern, say it's a child's fine motor skill development, when professionals who might examine and evaluate your child take a closer look at your child, don't be surprised at all if they may look into many areas of your child's development. In the last example, for a child to make progress on their fine motor skills, they will first need to learn how to self-regulate their feelings of frustration. The second big takeaway from today's video, I end each of the Parenting Roadmaps episodes by stating this phrase. And as always, remember to enjoy the journey. I do this because while I'm passionate about understanding all the parts that make up a child's development, I believe just as strongly we as parents need to keep our focus on the big picture as well, the whole picture, the whole cookie. It can be easy as life rolls past us to get really focused on the details, and we can forget to pause and take a step back and be amazed at the whole child. Thank you again for tuning in to Parenting Roadmaps. Next week, we will be back and focusing on bilateral coordination, seeing how our hands work better together. Have a great week, everyone. And as always, remember to enjoy the cookie. The journey.